It's time to rock and roll!
Good morning. Welcome back to another episode of the Waffle Press Hangouts. I'm your host, Diego Crespo. Gene's not with me today. He's off covering the aftermath of Beyond Fest. What's happening this week? Matt and I just saw Halloween Ends. So go check that out for spooky season shenanigans. We're doing the Jordan Peele retrospective we talked about, so get ready for that. My cat is in the background tap dancing, so if anyone hears that, that's what that is. Today's a very special episode because while we talk about movies on here, we also talk about other stuff too, like mental health, therapy, jokes that may be in bad taste that we're not going to bring up today. My guest today is Sarah Bilardi. Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing well. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, of course. You are also my cousin, which I'll just get out of the way right now
Yes.
too. So we go back pretty far,
Since
obviously.
birth.
But for the people who may not know you, which I'm assuming is basically all of my listeners, tell me a little bit about yourself as if we had just met right now for the first time.
Yeah. So yes, I'm Sarah Bilardi. I am Diego's cousin, and I've grown up in Los Angeles my entire life. Right now, during the day, I'm a social worker at a hospital. I graduated with my master's in social work in 2016, and I've been social working since. And I'm also do therapy on the side. So I have a private practice as a mental health therapist where I see adults struggling with anxiety, depression, past trauma, identity issues, cultural things. So that's a little bit about me and what I do.
Yeah, when did you first find, because I know you're really passionate about this stuff, which is also what we're here to talk about today, because you wrote a book about
Yeah.
certain issues.
Yeah,
people might have.
I forgot to mention that. I'm not the best at this.
Nah.
Yeah, I just wrote a book. It's called the Anxiety and Relationships Workbook. It just came out on October 11th. It's on Amazon for $17.99. And it's just tailored to help people struggling with anxiety in relationships and romantic relationships and friendships. I think it's something that every single person deals with, right? Regardless of if it's jealousy in your intimate relationship, if it's, kind of like paranoid thoughts about friendships, like things like that come up often. So this has been a project that I've been working on recently.
Yeah, I got the early review copy
Yes.
and a digital one, so it was really interesting to kind of. I've never talked to you about your career, basically. So this was like
Right.
on one hand, it was very helpful personally. On the other hand, it was very cool to see what you've been up to when we're not talking about family
Family.
parties and
Yep.
how
The
crazy and
family
fun they get.
tea.
Yeah, the family. Yes, I one time you caught me live tweeting our family events because
Yes.
they're very funny.
That was the
Uh,
best thing. I miss that. Maybe
well,
Christmas this year.
maybe it depends how much red wine there is.
Yes, that's
Uh,
true.
but yeah, also some people are weird on Twitter now, so I try not to tweet too much about my personal life. This is the most open I will be for a long time on one
Okay.
of these podcasts.
Okay, noted. I won't embarrass you.
No, it's fine. I embarrass myself because I do a podcast and I'm in my 20s, so that's how I take care of that. I got that covered, is what I'm saying. But as a movie related podcast, I got questions about film and therapy
Yeah,
and social dynamics. But before we get into
totally.
that, this is just a general icebreaker I do with all the guests. What have you
Yeah.
been watching recently? Movie, television? You could hate it, you
Yeah.
could love it. Just what's
Yeah.
Sarah
So I
Bilardi
don't
watching?
know if there's right. Part of me is like, oh my God, I'm on Diego's podcast. He's such the film person. And sometimes we feel like, oh, is what we're watching good enough for Diego? But so you're going to hate this, but I watch a lot of reality TV. I think part of the career field that I'm in is very heavy a lot of the times, right? I'm hearing a lot of really sad moments, a lot of difficulty in people's lives. So I like coming home. I love right now 90 Day Fiance on TLC. Have you ever watched it?
I never have, but I should also make clear, like the running joke on the internet is that I like everything, but in the real world, it's that I like nothing, and I don't know why. Every time we talk about something, I'm like, oh, I like that. Like Javi and I
Yeah.
will talk about Tom Hardy and Venom, and it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I like that. I don't know where
Yeah.
this comes
I
from,
don't know. I'm
but
sorry. Maybe we're
it's
projecting onto you.
maybe, but no, it's
but
fine. Go
but if
ahead.
you ever need, because it's people's lives,
Oh,
these reality TV shows that are just hilarious. So I watch 90 Day Fiance. I'm watching The Handmaid's Tale right now. Do you watch that?
I don't, but I have Hulu now, so I
Okay.
can watch it now.
Okay. Yeah. I feel like maybe The Handmaid's Tale will come up as we talk more about it, because it's, um, that it's dark, right? You know that
Yeah,
it's pretty
yeah.
dark. Yeah. And there's actually a lot of relationship context in it on like this far side of the spectrum that is like these really abusive relationships and like out of the box relationships. And it's interesting that that's become a part of like society now, like these terrible relationships that, I know it's not based in reality, but people are taking it in on the daily, right? These TV shows, these movies with these like crazy things happening in relationships, and we absorb that as humans. So it's just an interesting piece of TV and movies right now, I think.
Yeah, you cut out for like a second there when you were transitioning into Handmaid's Tale and talking about the reality television, but like
Uh-huh.
I don't like, I definitely don't judge anyone for watching reality TV. I don't really get anything out of it. It's just not
Mm.
my interest. Some people like
Mhm.
sports. Some like I like sports. I can't break down play-by-plays of
Right.
of a Super Bowl game, but
Right.
I like it. And so I think
Yeah.
there's value in that. It's totally fine to like engage and enjoy something
Yeah.
that, maybe not like who doesn't like fast food, you know?
Right.
I think
Right.
that's totally fine.
Exactly. It's nice to just like relax at the end of the day and like have something on that you don't have to be like 100% engaged in. It takes not that much energy to watch reality TV sometimes. So I'm a Real Housewives person. I'm The Bachelor, like all the things, all the crummy guilty pleasure TV is up my alley. But I'm a big Grey's Anatomy fan. Yeah, the Hulu shows.
Okay, okay. Do you know who Kyle Richards is?
Yes, of course I know
Okay.
who Kyle. She's been all up on the Instagram, right? At BravoCon, she was there, and
Well, this is perfect because she is in the Halloween franchise, which
yes,
I've covered now a dozen films in
yeah,
that series, and she came back for the new ones. And
right.
have you seen any of those, like at all?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
I have, and I think Javi and I are going to go see Halloween Ends probably this week. I get like really timid with the horror stuff, but I want to see her in it, and she like it was a part of the Real Housewives season this year, right? Her filming that and stuff, so
Hmm.
it's kind of like fun to watch
Oh,
it.
yeah,
Yeah, and Jamie Lee Curtis was even on it.
that's great. She's great.
Yeah.
All right, I can say this because I just recorded the episode. I haven't shared my thoughts publicly at the time of you
Mhm.
and I recording this.
Mhm.
It's a deeply strange film. It's
Okay.
not like a slasher. It's like a drama for like a straight hour. So,
Oh.
it's weird. I loved it,
Okay.
but
Okay.
you, it, I think people are gonna think it's boring. Like,
Okay. But I might like that because that doesn't sound like a traditional like horror thing where I'm going to be like in suspense the entire time.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
There's
That might
definitely
be,
like violence in the back half, but it's really like
yeah.
how how does someone become a monster? How does someone become
Mm.
like a Michael Myers type? Like what
Ooh, I
what
like
goes
that
into that?
actually. I like
Yeah.
movies that break down the why and the how. And a lot of people don't,
Hmm.
but for me I like to like, okay, so how did we get here? You know?
Yeah. I mean, like I definitely think that's what I like as someone who is like writing themselves now too. Like
Yeah.
I have to think about like what goes into like a character. Like people aren't born as like as a antagonist or protagonist.
Totally.
You become this because of structures in your life, your choices,
Yeah.
your actions that are done to you.
Yeah.
You know.
So did you watch Hocus Pocus too?
I did not watch Hocus
Oh
Pocus
my
2.
God,
Yeah, I
Diego.
know. I like Hocus Pocus. I'm a Hocus Pocus fan.
Okay,
But
so are you going to watch it? Can I tell you a little bit about it?
yeah, go for it.
So the whole first like 10 minutes is about like how the three sisters came to be. Right. So it's exactly that. Like it's like the why. It's like about it starts off as them like teenagers. So
Okay.
you should watch it.
Okay. I was that the viewing at the family?
No, we actually
Okay.
just watched the Dodger game instead.
Okay.
So you
Okay. Yeah, I will watch Hocus Pocus too, because I like Hocus Pocus, and
Mhm.
I like did you see the Munsters?
No, I
Okay,
didn't.
it's like it's for babies, but I loved it.
Yeah, you
So
never know with
uh,
movies, right? What's
yeah.
going to draw you in?
Yeah. So like I was talking about like where I get like my ideas and like what I get excited about when I'm writing and stuff
Mhm,
like that.
mhm.
Now, what excites me about movies, like really character driven stuff, um, where did your ideas for not just your career but this book come from?
Mhm.
Where like
Mhm.
where's that
Yeah.
inspiration
Yeah.
come from?
Yeah. So to my mom is a social worker. We have the same degrees, and I grew up with her always really loving her job. Like she would come home and want to go back to work, or like she would come home and be like, oh, I just, I love the connections I make, the people I talk to, the communities I work with. So I think that's like what probably hooked me into the career. And then I've always loved like hearing people's stories, hearing people's feelings, like connecting with people one on one, which is such an important piece of the career. And the job. So I think that's what brought me into therapy. This book, it was kind of like a all over the place that led up to it, but I always thought like it would be fun to write a book, and there's not as much on mental health and anxiety. I'm a big worrier. I have a lot of anxiety, so it's something that has always been of interest to me. And then when Javier's my husband, when Javier and I got married 3 years ago, we hadn't lived together before. And that was a huge transition for the both of us, right? To get to be married, to be living together for the first time, to be joining families. And I was like, oh no, this is gold. Like, I need to write about this. Like, this is stuff that everyone relates to and no one's talking about. Like, I don't know if I've told you this story, but like the first week we got home from being married, we went to Wingstop together, and we were like, oh, we'll just share wings, right? And we got like a 15 piece or whatever, came home where we're watching a movie. It was a horror movie, and I don't like them, right? So I was like very on edge about it. I'm like eating my little wing and like paying attention to the movie. I swear to God, just one wing. I put the wing down to get another wing. The rest are gone. And Javier had eaten 14 of the wings and I had never been more mad in my life. Like, I was like, get out of my house. Like, you ate 14 wings while I ate one in a meal that we had decided to share. Right. And so that's like a silly story, but there's all these things that come up when you're in a relationship. Right. And so fast forward 3 years to get to the book, I was actually approached on Instagram, because I have a therapy Instagram at Sarah Bilardi Therapy.
Link in the description, of course.
A publishing company who works with first-time writers in like self-help categories reached out to me there, and I was like at a point in my life where I was like, I'm just gonna say yes to everything and take every opportunity I can. And so that's kind of how the process started with the book.
All right. And how long were you working on this? Because I just have to say, like, it's super impressive, and I'm super proud of you for writing it, because it is it's terrific material, and a great workbook. But a lot of people say like, oh, everyone's writing a book.
Yeah.
Everyone is always writing a book.
Yeah.
Not many people finish it, but
Yes,
everyone talks
that's
about
true.
it. So how long did it take you to
Yeah.
figure it out and then
Yeah.
finish?
So the publishing company was really great. They offered a lot of support, and like they had the idea for the book, and then I like added my input. Um and I did all the writing. So all the writing is mine. They were just really helpful in the editing process and things like that, and like shifting ideas to make sense. So it took me about 3 or 4 months to write, and I was like writing it every day, right? Like after work, like just like writing. And then it took let's see, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. So 7 months from start to finish, which is
Wow.
pretty quick.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Not everyone can do that. Not everyone can commit to writing every
Yeah.
day through
It's
their own.
hard.
It's
Yeah.
hard, yeah, through their own
Yeah.
volition, or like, you come back from work and you're just like drained, and it's
Right.
hard to
Right.
do anything after a long day or a
Yeah.
long week and stuff like that. So that's
Yeah.
really impressive.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. It's so hit or miss. I remember sometimes I would like be like, I don't know. Like, I cannot even think of the next word to put down. Like, I can't. And then sometimes you're just rolling with it. Right. And it's like, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, that's a great, So I think I had to like sit down, like, allow myself at least an hour to sit down and try. And sometimes it would go into 3 hours. And sometimes it was like, I can't do it.
Mhm.
You know how that is.
Yeah, there's definitely like, because I'll always try to like write at least something in my notes app. I'm like, here's an idea
Hmm.
for another idea I have here. That's a sentence, yeah. Yeah, and then probably this. Let me move to my laptop.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, it's 3 a.m. I better go to sleep, because
Right.
holy shit,
Right.
it
It's so
is a
funny.
Tuesday night.
So funny how the brain works that way, right? Different settings are good at
Yeah,
different times for creativity.
yeah. Are you more of a morning writer, day writer, night writer?
Day, night, day, night. Yeah,
Mhm.
not morning. I don't do any, I can't function in the morning. Are you that way?
I love writing in the morning. I love waking up at
Mm,
4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning. There's
mm,
nothing happening. The world
yeah.
is silent.
Yeah.
I've become a coffee shop writer again.
Oh,
I
good.
really liked doing that when I was working in newsrooms and stuff like that. And now I like it again. For a while, there
Mhm.
were a couple of years there where no one could leave the house, but now I'm back in like the groove of it, and it's nice. I don't really
Oh,
like
good.
writing at home too much anymore.
Yeah.
This is like my place of rest now.
Yeah, that's good. That's
And
good.
podcasting, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah, but pivoting back to movies a little bit, because that's all I know how to
Yeah.
talk about. Uh, are there any like movies that you think generally portray like healthy relationships on film? Because this workbook, again, it's an anxiety and relationships workbook. It's to help you determine romantic, platonic, but loving relationships. Like
Yeah.
the energy you give to each other, how to process your feelings about them. And
Yeah.
as we're watching movies, like generally speaking, we're experiencing feelings that a movie provokes in us. So if we're
Mhm.
following characters
Mhm.
in there, if there's like
Yeah.
a gross, unhealthy relationship, it might feed you certain things, right? It doesn't mean you're going to be a bad
Yeah.
person for enjoying it. There's plenty of movies with problematic shit in it that I like.
Mhm.
One of my favorite rom-coms is She's All That, and that's a
Mhm.
very problematic movie.
Yeah.
But I saw it when I was in 8th grade, and so it's got the little nostalgia button. I watch it, and it's like
Yeah.
whoop, feelings, but
Yeah.
it's not healthy. So,
Yeah.
is there anything that springs to mind for you when you watch a movie? You're like, this is a healthier relationship
Yeah.
promoted here.
Yeah, I was thinking about this a lot because really interestingly, there's not a lot out there that portrays healthy relationships, right? Like I always talk to clients like, where is this like who is benefiting from this anxious thought you're having, right? Because it's not you,
Mhm.
clearly, right? It's not you. Like, and normally it's society, right? It's society and the world we live in, and this like, where there's unhealthy relationships everywhere, right? If we see people yelling at each other instead of talking on TV, on Instagram, on all these things, right? That's what we're going to think is normal. Um, because there's not a lot out there. I was thinking really hard about it, and one movie that I think maybe, and you're going to have to help me out with this, but is like Spider-Man No Way Home.
Really?
Yeah, because I can't think of like, right, there's support, right? MJ and Peter are supportive of each other. There's transparency there. right? Because she knows his situation in the beginning, at least, and she supports him through it all. He's constantly thinking about her, right, and thinking what the best thing for her is. Like, I haven't seen it in like a year, but I don't know. What do you think when I say that?
I'm gonna get lit up in the response to this episode because I've been very vocal about how little I liked that movie. And so
Oh.
now I see it coming. Like I see the train coming. I think the writing of the characters in that series right now is generally not very good.
Yeah.
But I think you bring up a very interesting point in that, like, my problem is with like the origin stuff for this character, and like there's a whole
is it a good
theory of this.
movie? Like, I'll defer
Yeah,
to you, but like, do they have a healthy relationship, right?
I
Like,
think yes,
potentially.
yeah. Like my problem, this is for just talking about it anyways, is that outside of her relationship to Peter Parker, I don't know who that version of MJ is. And
That's very
Zendaya
true.
is a fantastic actor. She's got it.
Very true.
I want to see. She was in 3 movies, and she's like, I don't know who she is. What's her home look like? You know?
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't need to go down that train.
No, I agree with you. I remember watching it being like, what? Like, it was harder to connect a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Right. She did a great job in the role, but I see what you're saying. Like, but where, what's going on? Like, right. But they have a healthy relationship, I think, for the most part, from what I see. Right.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of tenderness there. There's a lot of care for each other, right? Wherein even like the original Spider-Man, right? It's all based on lies, right? She doesn't know who he is, right? She's in multiple relationships, right? He's right. Like, it's, so it evolved in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know Javi will back me up on this. We kind of like love those first 3 a lot.
Yes.
And like, for as the writer, I guess, side of this, to me, that's like the conflict that has to be overcome. You know, they can't be together until Spider-Man 2, where they have to be fully open with each other. Well, he has to be open with her, and she has to show him that, like, hey, you can't make all of her decisions for him. It's the whole thing. But and then like I think we talked about this before too, but I really love the show New Girl. You know, and there's a lot of very immature nonsense with those characters, intentionally so. And as the show progresses, you know, they open up. The men become less like stuck in their like toxic masculinity ways, and they grow and change, and then they become more fulfilled adults, and they explore healthier manners, stuff like that. The show has other problems, but like that's definitely one that pops to my mind, at least in terms of like a healthier representation, you know.
Yeah, it's interesting because it really just doesn't make good TV, right? Like, it doesn't make good movies. It doesn't make good, good TV shows. Like, I think similarly to like in real relationships, right? A lot of people get hooked on that like flame or that instant chemistry, or, the girl or guy or whoever who, said one thing and then did something different, and now I'm intrigued, right? And it's the same with TV, right? They don't want to make TV about healthy, stable relationships where everything's good and there's 2 happy people with no issues, right? They don't want to make movies about that.
You know what, actually, like, this is not specifically about healthy relationships. It might be, but have you ever seen Magic Mike 2?
Yes.
That is a movie without like any conflict, and it's just guys hanging out, trying to please women across the country, like genuinely, like not taking advantage of them, like genuinely giving their bodies for their entertainment. And I'm like, I think that kind of rocks, you know. Like, good for them.
It's either conflict or hot bodies, right? Those are the 2 that make
Fluffy's
that make Hollywood go.
Because like Fluffy's with him, the comedian, he's not stripping with them, he's driving him around, he's chauffeuring him. That's true. I didn't think about that. That's an interesting point. Are there any movies that you love, like, despite their shortcomings in the relationship categories?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a sucker for a good romantic comedy, and they're all right. Like, I'm just like anyone else, right? I'm attracted to movies that have chaos in them also, right? But like, I love the movie Crazy Rich Asians, right? He doesn't even tell her that he's a billionaire. Like she has no idea and flies across the country with him, and she's on this beautiful jet, and she doesn't even think to ask a question. Like, what's going on, you know? And he like leaves her hanging with his family and things like that. So I really like that movie. But you know, that's not overall, it's not like extraordinarily toxic, I don't think. Have you seen that movie?
I have. I like that movie.
You have.
Yeah.
I love like classics like Father of the Bride. They have a pretty the mom and dad have a pretty open relationship. Back then there were a lot of like the couple gets engaged after like 2 months together abroad or whatever. Like that was like pretty classic. You know, The Notebook, of course, like if you ever need a good cry is always great to watch, but that's extraordinarily toxic relationship. But that was in a different time, right? It's so interesting to talk about like how important communication is in a relationship now versus back then when you could only write letters to each other. Like maybe they were, you know, they were communicating the best they could.
Yeah.
Right now we have like every form of communication possible. So there's a lot more effort needed to be a good communicator. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, I wish you had watched The Handmaid's Tale. I would love to have a conversation. You got to watch it.
I mean, go for it. I'll watch it because like when I'm like super into something, I'll tend to pay attention to like the writing, the filmmaking, the acting. Like if the story's spoiled for me, it's kind of disappointing sometimes, but I can like engage with it without like having to be surprised or anything like that. So if there's something that you
really it's just like it has really, I mean, I'm sure there are other TV shows or movies that have also made this impact, but for me it's been interesting, like right in the show, right, there's a lot of rape involved in the show. One husband like cuts off the wife's finger for disobedience. Like there's a lot of really intense like very just intense things, right? And I always think about like what that does to us, right, as the viewers watching that. Because it's something that was never part of our like mind, right? We would never think that. We would never think to cut off our partner's finger, right? And then we watch a show or we watch a horror film or we watch something, and now that is a part of us, right? Not that we would do it, but that it's like there. You know what I mean? And so in today where we have such a, like, is the right word lexicon? Like it was such a thing to pull from. Like, I just wonder how that affects people in relationships. It's like, oh, I'm not that bad. I watched this person cut off his wife's finger, you know, the other day on TV, or I watched the Dahmer documentary. You know what I mean? Like that has to be getting to us somehow. Right. So I don't know, just random thoughts.
No, I could, that's why I asked you to come on. Cause I think it's important to think about that stuff. Like, again, not that it's necessarily in our brain chemistry for us to act upon.
Correct.
I think
right. Definitely not.
Yeah. There's no violence in movies is going to make other people do violence. Like not that, but just like the subliminal thoughts about how we project ourselves and like, well, if I didn't, I'm not that bad, or I'm better than that. So this is good.
Exactly.
You know? Or like,
exactly.
Maybe you think like rom-coms. I got a soft spot for a lot of rom-coms too, but you know, there's just like a structure to them where it's like the meet cute, the conflict, the resolution, and the happy ending. And it's like, that's great for movies because that's structured. Real life is not structured. It's a bunch of disparate things firing at all cylinders in every direction. You're trying to latch onto something. Relationships are not gonna fall into a formula for you to process and solve, you know.
And I think similarly, like movies also do wonderful things for people, right? They make people feel understood and like they have friends and family and people who get them, right? So it's just, you know, it's on both sides of the spectrum there. But it's just interesting how much, you know, we're viewing a screen 80-90% of the day, right? Like, and so all of that is internalizing in us and affecting us, right? Positively, negatively, whatever it is. So great time to have a podcast about movies because there's a lot, so much to talk about.
Yeah, I think so. Every once in a while, I'm like, do I have that much more to say? And then I'll see something. I'm like, oh, I gotta talk about
Yes,
this.
yeah, it
You know,
does.
like the other day, I was rewatching Paddington as one does, and I'm like, why am I crying? You know, like, have you and Hobby seen Paddington? This is completely unrelated, but
No, we haven't. Should we?
you guys should watch Paddington and
Yeah,
Paddington 2.
yeah.
Yeah.
What are your like recommendations of the season right now? Is that a big question?
Kind of, but no. Let me take a look. Hold up. Uh, I don't know if I've told you guys. There's an app called Letterboxd. Everyone who's listening to the podcast regularly is rolling their eyes at me referencing it. But it's just where I go to like log all my movies. I would recommend Halloween Ends to you specifically because I know what your interests are in like the construction of identity and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Smile, if you want like a nice little
Ooh,
poppy horror. I had a lot of fun with Smile, and then Barbarian.
really? Wait,
I really liked Smile.
wait, what was the third? Sorry.
Barbarian.
Barbarian. Okay. Really, you liked Smile.
Did you not?
I can't, I haven't seen it, but I
Okay.
can't even watch the commercial.
Okay.
It just like, I'm like, they're gonna traumatize me with smiles now. Like I can't.
It's fun if you like something that's gonna make you like kind of pop out of your seat and throw the popcorn in the air, you know? That's a good
Okay.
one.
Okay.
I don't think it's like a slam dunk, but it's like perfect for right now if you want to get like a
Yeah.
squad together or something.
Did you see it in the theater? Yeah, right.
I did. I double featured Barbarian and Smile. Smile's not as good. Smile's good, but it's not that good. Barbarian is like, it's very strange. Both
Yeah.
Halloween Ends and Barbarian are very strange films, and I'm glad they're made.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't look up anything about Barbarian.
Okay, be
Watch it.
surprised.
Yeah, just watch it.
Okay. Are you big on horror films then?
I am huge on horror films.
Huge.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
I was a scaredy cat when we were younger, but now
Yeah, because I don't think we've ever like watched a horror film together.
no,
Like,
we were,
why would we do that in childhood, I guess?
Yeah, a lot of other people did.
Yeah.
We were big Disney Channel kids though.
Yes.
I think we definitely saw the original Hocus Pocus.
Yeah. I was even thinking about like when I was just thinking about coming on here and talking to you, like I was like, oh, there's got to be one Disney movie that has a really healthy relationship. Wrong. There's not one. I literally looked up every single one and was like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And then our children are just watching that all day long. Like it's just, right. So many wonderful memories come from them, but also there's a lot of impact on these things, right? With movies. Yeah. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, no, I mean that's totally true. Like my favorite Disney movie is probably like Lilo and Stitch or Fantasia.
Oh, yeah.
Fantasia is like straight up racist segments in it.
Yes.
And they're like bad and should never be made again.
Yes.
But I find the film very moving in spite of that, you know, and it's like I think that's kind of a nice trajectory that we understand where things went wrong. We don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. We can appreciate artistic expression and also be like, but that one was bad, don't do that. You know, let's not take that with us into the future. Let's learn from it and move past it. That's what I try to do anyways. Yeah.
In mental health, it's like a big thing to use like and statements instead of but statements, right? So it's like you can, have appreciation for something and understand that that was racist or that was, they should have done that better, right? Like the and of things is helpful for us, right? Especially with art.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, you're talking about like real stuff that matters. Your career is about stuff that actually matters. I'm like, I like the last Star Wars, No,
movies matter. Movies change people's lives. Movies give people reason to have hope, right? To be happy, right? It's all interconnected.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's the big takeaway we can end today with. If you had, I didn't lean like this. I didn't set this up at all right now, but I'm gonna ask anyways. If you had like one piece of relationship advice to give from your you're a professional therapist now. You're married.
Yeah.
You're doing very well for yourself, and I'm very
Thank
proud of
you.
you. But what can you leave
Yeah.
for a piece of advice for people who are
Yeah.
maybe a little anxious or insecure about relationship
Sure.
stuff?
Sure. Yeah, I think something really helpful, and this is hard, right? A lot about mental health is hard, right? It's not easy work to go to therapy. It's not easy work to think about your life critically. None of it's easy. But I think, like, when we're talking about anxiety, remembering that communication builds connection, right? And avoidance builds distance, right? So if you're feeling yourself wanting to avoid hard conversations, um, just things that you need to say to your partner, your friend, your parent, right? Whatever. And you want to avoid that because you don't want the conflict, you don't want the things, right? That's going to just set you farther apart, right? The more we communicate, whatever form of communication it is, right? I mean, not toxic communication, is a way to build connection, is a way to get closer, is a way to build something stronger, right? So I think that's an important thing. And I think, people out there, it's important to feel worthy enough for therapy, right? Therapy, if you've thought about it before, like, take the step, right? Do it. Like, not a lot of people spend an hour talking about themselves or thinking about themselves, right? Like, if you're thinking about it, take the step, reach out to your insurance, go on psychologytoday.com, look it up, right? Spending time with yourself, dedicated time with a professional who can help you through some of these things can be really life-changing, really beneficial for a lot of people.
Sarah
I'm
Bilardi.
not talking to you.
No. No. But hey, everyone needs a hand sometime, myself included. Sarah Bilardi, thank you so much for coming on and sharing these great words, your great book. Again, that's Anxiety and Relationships Workbook. Link in the description to all versions of the
Thank you.
podcast. Where can people find your presence on social media? You don't have to give personal ones. You could do just your therapy one, or personal ones if you want to build
Yeah.
your follower account, I guess.
Not personal. We won't do personal today,
Okay, all
but,
right. Good call.
it's just, being a therapist, right? We have to have this level of, just professionalism. But
Yeah, of course.
yeah, you can find me at Sarah Bilardi Therapy on Instagram. It's Belarde. That's where you can find me. There's links there to the book, to reaching out to me for personal therapy, to reaching out to other therapists. So that's the best way to get a hold of me.
All right. Again, thank you so much. It was
Thank
great having you on.
you. It was fun.
Yeah. And for everyone else, check out the rest of our podcast over on Twitter, SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, Patreon, YouTube, where you can see this version of it with the video. Like and subscribe. If you didn't like this episode, what the hell? But like and subscribe anyways, because you might find something you do like. Again, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We have been professionally unprofessional.